All right, this is still Good Morning Nigeria, live on the network service of the NTA. As a prompt for our conversation this morning, let's quickly take a look at this background report put together by Oyeyemi Ajayi.
When the Supreme Court passed its judgment over the full implementation of autonomy to the 774 local governments in Nigeria, many thought the issue was finally resolved. There was the hope that local governments would enjoy its autonomy immediately after the announcement. But it is obviously not yet over because some states are yet to comply. This is why the Nigerian Union of Local Government Employees, NULGE, is seeking the federal government's Implementation Committee to expedite the submission of the framework for local government financial autonomy recently endorsed by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration. NULGE stressed the importance of this framework in ensuring that the long-sought financial independence for local governments become a reality, marking a crucial step towards grassroots development. In a communique, NULGE reveals that local government autonomy would facilitate accelerated growth at the grassroots, a long overdue reform that the union has been advocating for decades, aside the fact that the review is critical for enhancing the effectiveness of local government personnel in delivering essential services to communities. According to the Attorney General of the Federation and the Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, SAN, it will take time to actually have a full implementation of the judgment. Federal legislators have continually made efforts to ensure that the local government councils in the country enjoy full autonomy and permanent freedom from the grips of state governors in compliance with the verdict of the Supreme Court. But how else can the country fast-track the implementation of local government autonomy? A question for guests already seated in the studio.
All right, many thanks, Oyeyemi Ajayi, for that background report. Let's begin our conversation and by introducing all the way from Kaduna, our Kaduna studio, is Honorable Samuel Akala, who is immediate past chairman of KARU, local government, and special advisor to the Algon national president. It's a pleasure to welcome you to Good Morning Nigeria.
It's my pleasure to join you this morning.
Yemi.
All right, also joining us for the conversation via Zoom from Lafia is Labaran Magaji, Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Nasarawa State. As a barrister at law, welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay, let's begin with you, since we can hear you at least. What's your immediate reaction to the autonomy granted local governments by that Supreme Court verdict?
Very much. First and foremost, let me start with you for giving us the opportunity with you this morning. Local government autonomy, it's really not strange to us here in Nasarawa State. And the reason being that His Excellency Engineer Abdullahi Esule, being the governor who has played for the observance of the rule of law, who is the governor whose interest it is to see that development has reached the grassroots ab initio. And that is the reason why, since his assumption of office in 2019 till date, His Excellency Engineer Abdullahi Esule has never, ever tampered with a dime that is credited to the local government in Nasarawa State. It is a point of note that Nasarawa State has 13 local governments, and we are one state that is a state that is governed by someone who has a very wonderful background, that fairness and justice are his watchwords. And so local government autonomy is not strange to us because, one, when he came on board, he has conducted a series of local government. This is about the third one, local government election His Excellency Engineer Abdullahi Esule is conducting. And during the pendency of the case instituted by the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation, apparently that case has nothing to do with Nasarawa State because one, we have an elected officials at the grassroots level. We equally have no issues with tampering with the funds of the local government. And three, there has never been any situation where the local government tenure has been truncated abruptly without following the due process of the law. And so these are the crux of the issues that were before the Supreme Court. And apparently we were actually not affected. So what we are going to say is that the judgment just came timely, and that's at the time that the tenure of the local government, the existing local government structure was still in place.
All right. Thank you very much, Labaran Magaji, the Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Nasarawa State. I'd like to stay with you. We have reports that joint accounts, with local government councils has been abolished in Nasarawa. Tell us, why did the state government go ahead to do that? And we hear that implementation of the funds, disbursement of funds, local government is supposed to begin, in November, and the state governor already went ahead to abolish joint accounts. Why did the governor take that decision?
Well, like I told you, His Excellency the Governor has been a proactive person, and recall that the judgment of the Supreme Court was delivered on the 11th day of July 2024, which entirely abolished, quote unquote, the practice of the joint account between the states and the local government areas in the states, and held that local government council is entitled to a direct payment from the federation account of the amount standing to its credits in the federation account. Judgment, whatever it is a judgment. And like I said, His Excellency the Governor is a person that can be characterized by the adherent to the law. And it came, like I said, the tenure of the pending local government, the existing local government structures was almost coming to an end. And election was already fixed for the 2nd of November, and they needed to take an oath under a new law. And so the need for the Nasarawa State government, under the leadership of my governor, to amend the existing local government law to conform with the judgment of the Supreme Court becomes very, very imminent. And the repeal of the Nasarawa State Local Government Law 2018 becomes imperative, so as to align the state local government law with the judgment of the Supreme Court, as aforementioned. And to this end, there are some features which includes, for example, Section 30, subsection 6, 7, and 8 of the 2018 local government law, which deals with the appointments of interim management committee of the local government council level, was repealed because the Supreme Court frowned at any structure other than democratically elected structure. So the existing law, that is the 2018 law, local government law, has this provision, making provision for what we call interim management committee. So that section was repealed. Now, Section 43 of the 2018 law, which also deals with the state's joint account, was equally repealed because this is the wordings of the Supreme Court. So consequently, we in Nasarawa State now decided that the practice of the state joint account under the 2018 law is no longer obtainable under the 2024 law. And this, in consonance to this, the practice of the deductions from source of 5% under Section 63 of our law of the local government council and the development areas monthly statutory allocations is to be remitted, and that is usually remitted to the traditional council of each local government council, has equally been abolished. So in place of this, we had a provision under Section 60, Sub 1 of the law 2024, which provides that each local government and area administrative council, because the nomenclature of the development areas has been tampered with by the new law. So what we have today is area administrative council, respectively. So in the same vein, Section 60, subsection 4 of the 2024 law made a new innovation by making allocations funds into which all remittance and disbursements shall be made directly to the Emirates Traditional Council. So the Traditional Council can now be on their own, and recall that even in the new law, specific roles were created for the Traditional Council considering their importance and relevance in the scheme of things. So it is equally pertinent to equally note that while we have development areas in the 2018 law, the new nomenclature of the areas in the current law is now Area Administrative Council, and this is contained under our new Section 65. So these and many other innovations, as we can continue to discuss, have made features, in our new laws, which is really the vision of His Excellency Engineer Abdullahi A. Sule.
Thank you very much, Labaran Magaji, Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice in Nasarawa State. Many thanks for opening remarks. Let me get quickly to Kaduna, our Kaduna studio, where we have Samuel Akala, who is immediate past chairman of an LG in Nasarawa State and special advisor to Algon chairman. Why does it seem, seeing what Nasarawa is doing, why does it seem that many states are struggling to comply with the Supreme Court's verdict on autonomy of local governments?
I think for me personally, it's a worrisome development. First, let me just correct your introduction. I am not the immediate past chairman. My successor has also handed over, so I can't be the immediate. So I am the former chairman of Karo local government. I served between 2018 and 2021. Well, for states that are still struggling to really comply with the Supreme Court judgment, that is to further state that most of those states are still yet to come to terms with the fact that the local government needs to be allowed to exist as a tier of government. You are aware that most of our states love a situation where the local government will continue to remain within the purview of the state government. You are aware there are a lot of book advocates, academic advocates, who will continue to say that in a federal system of government, that there are two tiers of government. But I keep repeating and reiterating that, look, every system of government is practiced based on the peculiarity of the people, and that a system of government is meant to serve, deliver good governance, ensure peaceful coexistence, and entrench peace and development in a country. So what will work for this country is that the federal system of government is practiced as a three-tier of government, where you have the federal, the state, and the local government. In any case, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, ab initio, established the local government as a tier of government. You will recall that in 1999 to 2003, the local government were operating as autonomous local government councils in Nigeria. And this is where you saw that activities were at the height of it. Primary healthcare services were effective, primary schools were effective, local government were serving the needs of the people and the community. And as at that time, you could hardly recall that anybody will complain of whether the governor or the president is not doing well. So for me, the states who are yet to comply with the judgment of the Supreme Court are only doing so to justify the fact that they still want the local government to operate within the purview of the state, which is an aberration to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Akala, many thanks for your thoughts there. But, you know, for many people, you know, who have analyzed this situation, they say that the autonomy may just be on paper and that in reality it may not work considering how local government chairmen are elected these days. You know, in some states there are reports that, you know, those who get elected, who win elections, you know, are handpicked by the governor. And that's even with this, I mean, local government chairman will still find a way to hand back the money to the governors if they want it. Do you think that, you know, that is likely going to be the case with the implementation of the local government autonomy?
Well, it is true that the judgment of the Supreme Court did not actually talk about elections into local government councils. The mode of elections or the practice did not tamper with that. The judgment only affirms that, look, let there be direct allocation from the federation account to the 774 local government councils. That is what the judgment particularly addressed, and the judgment also outlawed that there shall be no dissolution of elected officials once they are elected, no matter how the election is. But of course, you are aware that currently the state still maintains the State Independent Electoral Commission that are saddled with the responsibilities of conducting elections into the local government councils in Nigeria. That the Supreme Court did not tamper with. That is what we as Nigerians are hoping and looking up to the National Assembly and the state houses of assembly to amend the laws to provide for a more independent body that will conduct election into the local government councils. Even with the current state of the state electoral bodies, you are aware that a lot of states in Nigeria have not conducted these elections for decades until Mr. President, who summoned the political will to say, look, we need to free up the local government and approach the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court delivered this landmark judgment. You are aware that this judgment resonated loudly in the minds of the citizens of this country. Every Nigerian were basically excited with that development. So the judgment of the Supreme Court did not in any way mandate any other electoral body to conduct election. So as it is today, and that is why you will see that state governments have gone to conduct election. In most cases, I always say, there is actually nothing independent about the state electoral body. That's because when elections are conducted, the state electoral body will wait until the day the governor gives approval for another elections to be conducted. And when these elections are conducted, you will see that the party that the governor spearheads wins 100%. There is nowhere in the world where elections are conducted in a multi-party system, and then you find one political party winning all the local government seats, chairman seats, and winning all the councillors' seats. So there are few states you can find in the country where you will find that they will cede maybe the councillor seat position to other political party to, you know, justify a semblance of election that has been conducted. So for me, any citizen or any individual who is fortunate to be among those that are elected at this moment to be local government chairman or councillor anywhere in the country and will go to the office and in any manner try to refund funds or take out funds to the state government or in whatever way, I will clearly want to say that such officials will have their days to deal with the EFCC and the ICPC. And at this point, citizens must rise up to the occasion to hold their elected officials to account, because a lot of Nigerians have lost confidence in the third tier of government, and that is why citizens don't ask questions. What is my chairman doing with the funds that are coming to him? What is my councillor doing? Is he oversighting the executive at the local government? So the time has come for citizens to rise up to occasion, hold their elected officials to account. The time has come for the legislative at the local government council to oversight the executive headed by the chairman to ensure that the funds that are coming in are appropriately and transparently deployed. And I must at this point appeal that the federal government, through the FAC, must on a monthly basis publish every penny that goes to the state and the local government. By that, the citizens will be able to follow the money and get officials to account for them. But I can assure you, whoever, as a local government officials, be it chairman or whatever portfolio, that will want in any way to refund money back to the state because you want to show that you are loyal and that the governor facilitated you to be local government chairman, I would just say that you will have your day to deal with. The governor will probably, and of course, will not own up to the fact that he requested for a penny from any local government official. So the local government official will be the ones to deal with issues like that. So for me, it is work in progress. I believe that the local government officials are aware of the implications of this judgment, and I know we are beginning to have people with better capacity coming into the local government. I believe that they will apply their knowledge to count at this point.
Thank you very much, Honorable Samuel Akala. Now, I've taken a few things out of what you've said. I know that in pre-1999, local governments were influential, they were autonomous. It was the 1999 Constitution that brought the joint account into play. And then, from then it became a bit of a challenge where, like you said, if you say local governments are autonomous and then a governor can facilitate the election of a local government chairman, are they really independent? But thank you for your thoughts so far. Let's introduce, as I understand, we have been joined via Zoom from Ekiti State by Odunayo Ategberu, who is Chairman Board of Trustees of Algon and a former chairman for local government in Ekiti State. He's also a former Commissioner for Information and Civic Orientation, also of Ekiti State. We are glad you could join us on this conversation.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Let's run you straight into this conversation. I'm sure you followed a bit from the earlier contributors, the contributions of the earlier contributors. And I just want to find out from you, how easy is it for local government councils to be autonomous, given the way elections are conducted and given how tied they are to their state governments, even though on the surface it seems like, oh, now there is autonomy and oh, there is election, but how independent are they and how independent can local governments be in this dispensation?
Thank you very much. Well, as far as I'm concerned, in 1999 through 2002, local government in Nigeria enjoyed a kind of autonomy because that was the time the elections into the local government councils in Nigeria were conducted by INEC, and we had a uniform tenure at that time. Well, thereafter, it became a problem conducting local government elections by the governors. So most of the governors at that time would prefer to have caretaker arrangement, which is an aberration to the constitution of this country. But thank God for the judgment of the Supreme Court of 11th July, which now grants autonomy to local government. And I can see that as a fallout of that judgment, most of these states that have refused to conduct elections are now conducting elections into the local government because they don't want to lose their allocation. But my concern, is that there must be a very seamless implementation of the judgment so as to bring back autonomy that we really deserve at the local government level to local government. You see, if allocations are not coming to local government, even when we have people that have capacity to govern, there won't be enough money to do that. So if there is money and the money is coming directly to the local government account, then there will be opportunity for us to harness our resources the way we want to do it to favor the people at the grassroots level. Because the local government is a third tier of government and it is specifically designed to take care of the people at the local government level. And let me tell you, more than 80% of our people in this country, they reside in the local government. And the approach should be bottom-top approach for developmental purposes. If the grassroots are developed, then the whole country is developed. So there must be adequate, and thank God that a 10-man committee has just been inaugurated to implement the judgment. But unfortunately, some of the governors are still not cooperating. But you can see that some of these governors are still manipulating their houses of assembly to pass obnoxious legislation to truncate this idea of bringing governance to the doorstep of our people at this level. So, to me, I think now that a committee has been set up to fast-track the implementation of this judgment, I want to believe we will have a good deal for the development of grassroots at the local government level. And any impediments at all, because the judgment is very specific. And I know that the Minister of the Attorney General and Federal Minister of Justice must have done a lot of work by studying the contents of the judgment, as it were. So the implementation is now what we are looking for, and I know that the guidelines that are going to be set in motion, we actually give opportunity for the judgment to be carried out the way it is supposed to be carried out in the interest of the people of this country.
All right.
We have a lot of issues that we need to tackle at the local government level. For example, we are looking at the issue of insecurity. We are looking at education. We are looking at health. All these things can be adequately tackled. For example, most of these criminals you have in this country today, they reside in the communities. So if we have autonomy at the local government level, we will be able to fish out most of these people that are living here. And again, there's no political appointee or political person that is not from a particular community. All the governors we are looking at who are not really supporting this idea of autonomy are from various communities. Are they saying that they don't want their community to develop? So we want Nigeria to develop. And if Nigeria is going to develop, it has to start from the grassroots. We have to combat the security problem. It is the local government that can do it adequately well, because we will be able to gather intelligence to ensure that all these criminals are exposed. So for me, it is the implementation of this judgment that is going to be the best thing for this country.
All right, many thanks, Sultanayo Ategbero, for your comments. We'll get back to you, but let's get back in the studio now. We have joining us for the conversation Izinwa Nwagu, Chairman, Partners for Electoral Reforms. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning.
All right, Izenwa, I'd like to just hear your thoughts about the local government autonomy. Of course, I remember that the last time we had this conversation right here, you were here, and you made your thoughts plain about the whole issue. But looking at the period now, okay, well, 3 months moratorium. We hear it's supposed to be implementation is supposed to kickstart this November. Yes, we're looking forward to see that. But looking at what some states are doing. For Nasarawa, for example, they have abolished joint account. Some states are yet to conduct local government elections. Those who have even conducted are, trying to enact laws, just to make sure that local governments, do not enjoy the full benefits of the financial autonomy. What are your thoughts?
Thank you. First is the whole challenge of implementation. It's not just about local government. It's about our attitude to laws. We have plethora of laws on almost everything you can talk about in the country. We've always known that the gap is not about the law. It's about the impunity. It's about the attitude of the ruling elite. The first thing is that they make the law and they also subvert it. And it's intentional. There's some intentionality about it. Let's be plain. Why should there be an issue about a judgment? The whole thing about joint account is a hoax in the first instance. And we all know this. So the big challenge that we're contending with is impunity. And then what happens to us is that we sidestep when we have a pause, a ripe pause, rather than pierce it so that the can come out, we'll be massaging it. We keep massaging and then pretending that we don't know that this pulse is ripe and that it should. So what am I saying? We live in 3 communities, all of us. The community where you are born, the community where you work, and the community where you reside. So the local government is not a grassroots thing. This place where we are is under a local government. The federal capital, the Aso Rock that we have,
It's under
a local government.
government.
But those of us who live in it, what is our attitude? Do we even know that a local government exists as citizens? Because we first have a role. We have a role in these 3 communities that I talk about. Whether it's where we are born, whether it's where we reside, whether it's where we work, a local government exists there. And we are wired to talk about when the budget is released, things will get better. Which budget are we talking about? We are talking about the national budget. But the local government where we live runs on a budget. How many of us are invested in even knowing the Amak, Kuje, Gwagwalada, Ezilite, where I come from, and the rest of all these places? Are we sufficiently invested in oversighting, that bringing that citizen oversight? It's not there. So we pretend because we leave it to them. The local government chairman does not live in his local government in most of the communities. They come from the capital to pretend over the local government where they are. We just had elections in which 99% in many cases, the ruling party or the dominant party in the state takes everything. And in many cases, they even have a written, undated resignation letter that's been submitted to the governor. That once, the resignation letter is already there. So, and we know these things. They are not hidden things. So the guy who is being elected in the kind of elections that we have seen in the local government is not beholden to anybody. The councillors are not beholden to anybody. We speak English. We are here speaking English. The folks who run these things, we have not challenged the kind of elections that are being conducted in the local government. All of us were paranoid about 2023 election in which we have different political parties, in the National Assembly now. You have some kind of
A mix.
A mix of political parties. We have governors lose elections. But we were still very vehement about what we call the outcome of that 2023. But in the community where we are born, in the community where we work, in the community where we reside, and in our communities of affectations, we don't care the kind of elections that are conducted there.
But when...
And then we are talking about Supreme Court. I'll just round up. Yeah. You talk about Supreme Court judgment and talk about 10-man committee as if it's a magic wand, as if we've not seen that before. The challenge is the subversion by the chief executives of the states. And we know where that challenge is. The ones who pretend to have conducted the election to get this money have also told those who they have elected, you cannot spend that money. You can't spend it. How do you get reported to the FCC? Does the FCC just come and say you have stolen money? Somebody has to report to you now. Somebody has to say my money is missing.
No, somebody doesn't have to say that, because if where laws work, EFCC is aware.
How does he get aware?
EFCC is aware that this amount of money goes to this local government under the administration of XYZ.
Yes.
Does EFCC track how you spend this money that you have received? If you take it in bulk and give it to one man,
you are not going.
Is EFCC not going to track that as well?
There are paper trails. There will be paper justification. How can you be, Victor? How can you be speaking as if you just came back from the US?
In other words, it is smarter. It is smarter than whatever system in place.
I just use the word subversion. Deliberate, intentional subversion that all of us are aware of.
Look, growing up, in 1993, in fact, a chairman was elected from the street where I lived in Lagos. And that brought local government even closer. You know his house. You can walk down the road and say, we knew the things he did. The road was started for the first time by the local government. We could go, so you could give him credit for the things he did and hold him accountable for the things he didn't do. And for those he didn't do it within the local government. And not today, where you have local government in bits and pieces, balkanized. You had large, you talk about Surulere local government at the time was large. You could give him credit, you could hold him accountable. Where did we get it wrong? And why does this seem like, we are on a journey, we've reached the point of no return, we can't fix it?
You just nailed it. See, I live in Abuja. I've not lived in my community, in my own village, at least if you are talking about subnational, because my definition of local government is encompassing. I've not lived there in the last 30, at least I visit. And then I live in Abuja. Then I am made local government chairman. Not that I'm elected. Because we have to be clear about that. Somebody calls me and say, come and become local government chairman. So what do I do? On Tuesday, I arrive there, and everybody comes and says, Chair, welcome, Chair. My child has not gone to school, their school fees, blah, blah, blah. I dispense whatever patronage I can, and then on Thursday, I'm back to my Abuja. I have no connection, in reality, with the aspirations of the people of that
But that's
place.
not the case in 774
And in many
local
places,
governments.
it's not the case.
It's
Hold on now. When you draw a picture, 99% of the people who are chairmen today, I'm talking about chairmen,
today
are not autochthonous. They are not people. See, the idea, when you finish from this place, you retire. Okay? And you are healthy. Where do you want to go to? You want to live and go and live in your community. When you go there, you speak English. The guy who is going to be is the one who is a relation of this, and we know this. So what I'm saying is that, can we confront this issue until we rein in the governors?
How?
In a conversation, which is what is going on, which the president has. Is it possible for you guys to allow this thing to work? Give these people their money and take your
So
eyes away.
are the governors above the law?
They are above the law. They are czars. They are emperors in the states. See, in many of the states, the structures of accountability are broken. Media. Go to any state in Nigeria, listen in on radio and see whether they are talking about anything in that state. They are talking about Abuja.
But you see, it may be wrong to generalize because in some states.
I've traveled extensively. I'm asking you about structures of accountability. Today, you can budget code can talk about
follow the money,
budget, and all the rest of it for all the states. They are where? They are like either in Lagos or they are in Abuja. There is no state civil society organization that can challenge budget in that state. You will not sleep there.
All right. Thank you,
You know this.
Ezenwa, let's pause you. Let's pause you at this point. And listen to Labaran Magaji, Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Nasarawa State. Before you joined us, he spoke about what the governor is doing in that state. He has come out to abolish joint account. I mean, that's one state that is fully in support of local government autonomy. and according to Labaran Magaji, even before, the pronouncement of the court about local government autonomy, the governor had made sure that the local governments, got attention. But let's get back to him now. I'm sure Ezenwa would respond when you speak.
He's already responded with his countenance.
But let's listen to Labaran Magaji. Labaran, I would like you to respond to some of the comments made by Ezenwa about these governors being czars and above the law and not wanting local government autonomy to take its place. In your own state, I know you already spoke extensively about what your governor is doing. Do you really think there will be issues about the full implementation of this law?
The full implementation of the law will certainly be grappling with some issues, like it has been said by several speakers. Because if we want to have a full implementation, because I'm not here to speak on behalf of any state, but I have to speak in realities of what is obtainable in Nasarawa State. Joint account, no doubt, is constitutional. The issue of State Independent Electoral Commission conducting election is constitutional. Now, what was before the Supreme Court is the financial autonomy. Now, for you to have all of this, joint account, State Independent Electoral Commission conducting election in the states, definitely this constitution has to be tinkered with. And even the issue of the joint account that was abolished, it takes a very wise wisdom of the 7-man panel of the Supreme Court to actually look at Section 162 of the Constitution clinically with a view to coming out with a policy, being the Supreme Court as a court of policy, come out with a policy through which, at the end of the day, it was resolved that monies to the credit of local government should go directly into the account of the local government, which His Excellency, the Governor of Nasarawa State, did not hesitate. Initially, in observance with the rule of law, in obedience with the Constitution, the Joint Account Committee was in place, and any money to the credit of local government is jointly decided by the local government chairman in the state on what to do with it. And so, implementing in full-fledged local government autonomy, then certainly we have to go to the root, which is the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But I can assure you that all the governors, especially the governor of Nasarawa State, has the entire political will to ensure that local governments at the grassroots witness rapid development within the shortest possible time and within the resources available at their disposal. And let me say it quickly here, that anybody from Nasarawa State can attest to the fact that The government of Nasarawa State, under the leadership of His Excellency Engineer Abdullahi Esule, in almost all cases augments the financial expenditure of the local government so that local government can be able to realize its mandate of paying salaries to its deserving civil servants. And indeed, pensioners are also getting their dues as at when due. So these are some of the responsibilities that His Excellency the Governor has taken so personal, and he's really pursuing it. And with the coming of this judgment, it becomes so easy for him to actually stabilize and actually take his mission forward. So for us in Nasarawa State, we are lucky, and Engineer Abdullahi Esule is one governor I will say every state should wish to have.
Labaran Magaji, Wango wants to respond to you, but that'll be after this break. Stay with us. All right.
Thanks for staying with us on Good Morning Nigeria. We've been discussing the local government autonomy and fast-tracking its implementation. Just before we went on that break, Yen Ray already baited Ezewanwagu to respond because he was responding in facial gestures. And I'm wondering what he's going to say about it. Now, a lot has been said about Nasarawa, talking about the abolition, at least taking the step to abolish joint account. And but what's your take on that? Does it seem that other states could borrow a leaf from Nasarawa State?
Well, I congratulate the Attorney General and the Commissioner for Justice for living in a lucky state. But my sense is that this is not about luck. This is about intentionality. And one of the ways in which we can track that is to say, did Nasarawa wait? It had to wait for the Supreme Court judgment. You understand, to do what is right, what it knows all the time to be right. That's the first question that comes. The next question that comes is to track eventually how the resources that will get to these local governments will be deployed for the benefit of. But I think that the commissioner will speak the way he has spoken, and if he didn't speak that way, he may not come back to that office. So, having said that, the challenge in Nigeria is to always confront the issues the way they are. If you go to primary schools across the country, public primary schools across the country, there are places where a whole primary school, the whole of the primary school has only 4 teachers. The headmistress, and 3 other teachers are the only teachers in the whole of the primary school. And I'm not inventing this.
In some communities, no teachers at all. In fact, the community pay teachers.
I'm not inventing this. Now, why did that happen? The monies were in the hands of the local government. The local governments were not doing what they were expected to do with the payment of teacher salary. It was returned to the governors. Did we see any difference? What we need to do is to collectively build a citizen movement against impunity.
The question is how?
How is, I did place that when I started. I said, me, you, my sister here, we all live in local governments. How much do we really care? Forget they had elections. These elections were not done in accordance with, even their own laws. I don't see an election in which even the chairman of a party, the national chairman of a political party, will lose election in his own ward, his own party. So we are dealing with impunity. It's us as citizens that has to now say, look, if this money comes, we have to now form our organizations to begin to ask the necessary questions.
How formidable would these organizations be, considering the fact that citizens are divided along religion, ethnicity?
They are united by hunger and diseases and poverty. That's the unifying factor. You see, this religion, does your religion put food on your table? It doesn't. So the tribal marks of impunity can be wiped out by eternal vigilance. And the way to do that is to see, let me tell you, there are local governments, even before this thing, where we have built this kind of, I'm talking about just very close to FCT here, where local governments have come together to invite back a contractor who did a job and abandoned it in their community. They traced the contractor and went to him and said, come and complete this job. We found out that you have been paid.
But when you say hunger can drive the people, to do something about this, then you ask, why, for example, in state elections, why do you still see the kind of people who are elected just because they are being handed 5,000, 10,000 on election day?
Some of the people who are elected some of the people who are elected are quality people. Let's not see. One is
but
that
votes are swayed.
Do you know that
by
the biggest book, that the most important book in Nigeria is 48 Laws of Power? Don't outshine your master. So you call you now, bring you to a local government, and you do a sparkling thing, and you are called to say who sent you to who's. So you are looking for this office. You want to your attention. You want to become the next governor. That's why this is where we live.
All right, Ezenwawagu, let's pause you and let's get to Honorable Akala Samuel. Earlier, when he spoke, Honorable Akala, I'm sure you've been listening to Ezenwawagu and all his thoughts about this. You spoke, being optimistic that this is going to work. But looking at the perspective of Ezenwawagu, what would be your reaction?
Quickly refresh our minds on the Supreme Court judgment and the declaration of their justices. When you go to that document and go to page 54, I want to say this in relation to some of the celebrated review of state laws, So if you go to the declaration of that judgment of the Supreme Court by their lordships, if you check page 54, sub 9 said, a declaration that by virtue of section 162, sub 3 and 5 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, the amount standing to the credit of local government councils in the Federation account shall be distributed to them and paid directly. 10, a declaration that a state, either by itself or its governor or other agencies, has no power to keep, control, manage, or disburse in any manner allocation from the Federation account to local government councils. Then number 11, 10, that the current practice of keeping, controlling, managing, disbursing local government allocation is unconstitutional and illegal. A declaration that local government is entitled to direct payment from the Federation account. And then lastly, their justices saw tomorrow by their judgment. They now gave an injunction. An order of injunction restraining the defendants as the state government, including the State House of Assembly, by themselves, their privies, agents, officials, or however called, from further collecting, receiving, spending, tampering with local government funds from Federation account. Now, the import of this declaration is that I hear a lot of reviews of state laws are ongoing. I am happy that Nasarawa has abolished the state joint account. But when you go dive into the laws of the state, you will also see that the state is retaining the Local Government Service Commission and asking local government councils to pay 1% to it. The state is retaining the Bureau for for pensioners, you know, where 15% is paid to it. The state created a local development councils and is asking local government to fund in by their 20% of their allocation. To me, this is completely at variance with the judgment of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is asking local government councils to manage their funds. So there should be no state laws that should interfere with the funds of the local government. Agreed that part of the Constitution still stipulates that the state assembly can make laws as it regards to the structure, the functions, and what have you of the local government. But the Supreme Court have made a declaration as to those powers of the State House of Assembly to make laws that affects the management of the funds of local government. So I also hear there is a resurgence and resurrection of what is called State Economic Development Councils in the state. That committee has been in the Constitution for ages. None of those states have ever thought of giving it life to breathe. Now, with the Supreme Court judgment, states are coming up with state economic team and asking local government to pay certain amount of money to that fund for the execution of what they call it uniform or universal projects. I see all of this as avenues for the state to still take charge of the funds of local government. And this is usually done through the state assembly, leveraging on the window that the state assembly still has the power to make laws as regards the functions, the finances, the structures of local government. Forgetting that the Supreme Court has removed the power of the assembly from making laws to tamper with the funds of local government. I am not a lawyer. I'm happy that I think Ezewa is a lawyer. The Attorney General of the state is also a lawyer. And I don't know if one of you, the anchors, are lawyers. But for me, as a layman, I think that the state houses of assembly do not have the power to further make laws as regards the management of funds for local government. In any case, the federation account has made adequate provision to the state account. I beg to ask, the federal government does not, or not the National Assembly, does not decide what the state uses their resources for. This issue of autonomy, it is not a situation where the local government wants to usurp the power of the state. No.
All right. Thank you very much, Samuel Akala. Yes, we don't have to be lawyers to read and understand. Ezewa is also not a lawyer, but it's okay. Let's get quickly to Ado Ekiti and see how much he agrees with Honorable Samuel Akala. Oduayo, I know you have listened to Samuel Akala, speak. I don't know what your own take is from the end that you are much more familiar with, but does it seem like even the law, the verdict, has not done enough to grant the autonomy that most Nigerians crave for the development of local government areas?
Thank you very much. Well, the judgment that has granted financial autonomy to local government in Nigeria is a welcome development. But we need to go further. I want to say that the National Assembly has done well, but most of the bills that have been passed by the National Assembly to ensure that there is full autonomy of local governments in Nigeria are always being truncated, by the state houses of assembly, because they need to give their concurrence. 2/3 of them need to give their concurrence. But as it is now, to complement this judgment, my view is that because when you say there's financial autonomy, and some governors are still coming from through the back door to harass the chairman. It is not going to work. My thinking is that for a full implementation of this judgment, the clause of SEC, State Independent Electoral Commission, conducting elections should be removed. There must be a central body that should conduct elections for local government, and that will give a sense of belonging to everybody who needs to participate in such an election. For example, in 1998, when I became local government chairman, it was a ANEC that conducted our elections, and there were uniform tenure. Elections were conducted free, fair, and credible. But this time around, you see a local government, a governor conducting an election, and the party, the ruling party, will take all. That is not fair enough. It doesn't make it credible. So for us to have a sound and sustainable local government autonomy, we need to have a uniform tenure for local governments. We need to expunge the joint account something. The joint account is not even an aberration, but the way it was being handled by the governors was why local government system has not been able to, function properly. The local government, in most cases, under government, just an extension of the governor's office. So we don't want that. We want a situation where, when the money comes to the local government, it will be used specifically in developing the local government. We have a lot of things that are supposed to be done in local government. For example, the poverty level in the local government is so much that we need a situation where we have the opportunity of alleviating all this poverty and ensuring that our people are given the benefit of having good standard of living at the local government level. And the only thing you can do is to ensure that the local government people are given the opportunity to manage their resources to the best interest of the masses of the people at the grassroots level. So I really want to agree in a way with Honorable Akala, who was a local government chairman like myself, and who knows better, in terms of what operates at the local government. So my prayer is that this implementation should take into cognizance the fact that the governors should not have a place to interfere or to go through the back door to collect this money from these people, because and I want to believe there are going to be some guidelines to back up the implementation. Otherwise, some of these governors will still continue to embarrass the system. So I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing that we have this judgment, but the implementation is the real thing. The implementation must not be truncated at all in any form, so that we have the benefits of having this autonomy at this time. Like I said, Nigeria can only develop if we have a bottom.
So, Odunayo Ategbero, for your comments, because of time, we need to quickly wrap up the conversation. But I'd like to get to Ezinwa Wagu now as we round off, and I'd like him to to speak. Earlier you talked about the governor's being above the law and how this is not really going to work. But let's look at the fact that the local government chairmen do not have immunity. So if they mismanage the funds, if they hand it over, if they hand it back to the governors, and then the FCC chairman, for example, has come out to say, well, they're going to monitor the budget performance of all local governments in the country. So
I took time to deliberately wean myself out of textbook analysis. And you know what that means. What it means is to conform with laid down ways of what I try to do when I come to a place like this now is to lay it bare for you in a language that ordinary people can relate with. What do I mean by that? See, the challenge is not that when I say hand it over, it is not handed over. This thing is done. There are civil servants who their work is to clean these transactions. The way you got into a place is important. All this that we are saying, whether we talk about, creating sex, empowering sex, or creating or handing them over to INEC, that is in the ones that have been elected. How did they come? Whether in Nasarawa or anywhere, how were they elected? Were they elected through proper democratic processes and channels? If yes, then you can expect them to do. See, in some states, they said to be local government chairman, your form in certain political parties is 20 million. Okay? In some states, is 1 million, women 700. And then the governor took all the forms. There were no primaries in their own political parties. You became a candidate. You know how you became a candidate. You know how you became a councillor. And you are still telling me that when I say handover, what it means is that you will carry the money and hand over. I've told you, find out. In some states, they are already signed. Did you hear? I said post-signed resignation letters, undated, handed over. And I'm not making this up. So the point that I'm making is that when we want to confront these issues, my parting stuff is let us as citizens begin to develop interest in subnational governance and local governments. The same passion we develop for national elections, let us show it when these other elections are being held. The budget in the local government, let us show interest. Honorable Akala just broke the word I used. I used subversion. So what is subversion? You see something that should go in a particular way, you begin to create all kinds of obstacles to make sure that that expected end is not realized. And that is what in legal language Honorable Akala just brought out. The one word for it is the chief executives are in the business.
We've run out of time completely. We've run out
financial autonomy.
We've run out of time completely. Isn't why
lack of political autonomy.
We have to thank you at this point, just so that we don't have further bills to pay. We've run out of time. Isn't one Chairman, Partners for Electoral Reforms, we thank you very much for your time and thoughts on Good Morning Nigeria. Let's also thank Labaran Magaji, who is Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice. Nasarawa State is also a barrister at law. It's been a pleasure having you link up with us on Good Morning Nigeria. Let's also quickly journey to Kaduna, where we have Samuel Akala, who joined us from our Kaduna studio, immediate past our chairman of Karu, local government area. It's been a pleasure having you talk to us on Good Morning Nigeria. And finally, many thanks to Odunayo Ategberu, who is Chairman Board of Trustees of Algon and former Chairman for Local Government of Ekiti State, former Commissioner as well for Information and Civic Orientation in Ekiti State. We are happy you could join us, and we thank you for your insights.
All right, so that's Good Morning Nigeria this Tuesday. Many thanks for watching. Remain tuned to the NTA. I'm Ian Ray John.
And I'm Victor, as you enjoy the rest of your day.